My name is Serena Rogers. I'm 31 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I got married in front of 150 people. It was perfect. The flowers, the music, the vows, everything I dreamed about. But the best part wasn't the ceremony. It was watching my maid of honor's face when I exposed 6 months of sabotage in front of everyone she'd ever wanted to impress. Let me tell you how we got there. It starts 8 months earlier, on a Tuesday night in February. I was sitting on my couch with my boyfriend of 3 years, Ryan, watching something forgettable on Netflix when he turned off the TV and got down on one knee. I don't remember most of what he said. I just remember nodding and crying and saying yes over and over. The ring was simple, exactly what I would have chosen. He knew me. The first person I called was Maya, my best friend since college, the person who'd been there through bad breakups and career changes and 2 a.m. anxiety spirals. She picked up on the second ring, and I was already talking before she could say hello. He proposed. Ryan proposed. I'm engaged. There was a pause, just a beat too long, before she screamed, "Oh my God, Serena, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you." But I heard it. That tiny hesitation, that half second where her brain caught up to her mouth and told her what reaction to perform. At the time, I brushed it off. I told myself she was just surprised, that she'd had a long day, that I was reading into nothing. 2 days later, we met for brunch at our usual spot in the West Village. I brought the ring, still not used to the weight of it on my finger. Maya hugged me, ordered mimosas, made all the right excited noises. Then she asked if Ryan had talked about a timeline. I told her we were thinking next fall, October maybe, something small and intimate. She smiled and said that sounded perfect. Then she ordered another mimosa and got quieter. I didn't notice it then, but looking back, that brunch was when it started, when she realized I was getting something she didn't have. Maya had always been the successful one. Better job, bigger apartment, more dates, more attention. We'd never talked about it directly, but there was always this unspoken scoreboard between us. And for 8 years, she'd been winning. But now I had something she wanted, and the rules had changed. 3 weeks after the engagement, I asked her to be my maid of honor. We were at her apartment, drinking wine and looking at Pinterest boards. When I asked, she teared up and hugged me and said she'd be honored. She told me she'd help with everything, planning, vendors, dress shopping, all of it. I felt so lucky to have her. That was my first mistake, trusting her with everything. It started small. We went dress shopping in March, just the two of us, before bringing the bridesmaids. I found a dress on the second boutique. It was simple, elegant, exactly what I wanted. I stepped out of the fitting room, and I knew this was the one. I looked at Maya, waiting for her to say something. She tilted her head, frowned a little. "It's nice," she said, "but I don't know, it feels a little plain, like it doesn't really photograph well. You want to look good in pictures, right?" I looked back at the mirror. Suddenly, I wasn't sure. "You think it's too plain?" She stood up, walking around me in a slow circle. "I just think you could do better. This is your wedding. You should look incredible, not just nice." She suggested we keep looking. So we did. For 3 more weeks, we went to boutiques. She picked out dresses that were too expensive, too dramatic, too everything. Nothing felt right. I started to panic, thinking maybe I was too picky, maybe my taste was wrong. Then my sister came to visit, and I showed her photos of all the dresses, including the first one. She immediately pointed at that one. "That one, that's perfect on you." I told her Maya thought it was too plain. My sister looked confused. "Maya's not the one getting married. Do you like it?" I did. I went back and bought it. When I told Maya, she said, "Oh good, I'm glad you found something that makes you happy." No apology for making me doubt myself. No acknowledgement that she'd sent me on a wild goose chase for weeks. That should have been a warning sign, but I was busy, overwhelmed with planning, trying to keep my job and my life together while organizing a wedding. I didn't have the energy to analyze every comment. In April, Maya volunteered to coordinate with the vendors, the photographer, florist, DJ. She said it would take pressure off me, that she knew how stressful planning was. I let her. Another mistake. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called the photographer to confirm some details. He mentioned he was excited to capture the moody, dramatic aesthetic you'd requested. I paused. "What aesthetic?" He sounded confused. The edgy, dark, cinematic vibe. Your maid of honor said you wanted the photos to feel more artistic and less traditional. I never said that. I wanted light, romantic, classic. I told him to ignore whatever Maya had said. After I hung up, I sat there staring at my phone. Then I called the florist. She cheerfully confirmed she'd swapped out the peonies for lilies, just like my maid of honor had requested. I'm allergic to lilies, severely. I told her to change it back immediately. She apologized, said there must have been a miscommunication. But it wasn't a miscommunication. It was a pattern. I started checking everything. The DJ had a completely different song list than what I'd sent. The cake flavor had been changed. The seating chart had been rearranged to separate people who were friends. Every single thing Maya had touched had been altered in a way that would make the wedding worse. And every time I caught it, she had the same response. Wide eyes, hand over her mouth. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought you said..." Gaslighting me into thinking I'd been unclear, that I'd miscommunicated, that this was somehow my fault. I started keeping a folder on my laptop, screenshots of our text conversations, emails to vendors with timestamps, notes on every accident. I wasn't sure what I was building yet. I just knew I needed proof. The bachelorette party was in June. Maya planned the whole thing. She'd asked what I wanted, and I'd been clear, low-key, a nice dinner, maybe a spa day, close friends only. She said she'd handle it. The weekend arrived, and she'd booked us a table at a loud club in the meatpacking district. She'd invited people I barely knew. She'd scheduled it the same weekend as Ryan's bachelor party, even though I'd specifically asked for different weekends so we could both enjoy our nights without worrying about the other. The night was a disaster. Maya got drunk within the first hour. Sloppy, loud, embarrassing drunk. She kept trying to get me to do shots, posting unflattering photos of me on Instagram, making jokes about how I was settling down and giving up the fun life. At one point, she spilled an entire glass of red wine on my white dress. She laughed, stumbling, saying, "Oops, too much tequila." Everyone else looked uncomfortable. I went to the bathroom to clean up and just sat there on the closed toilet seat, staring at the stain, realizing this night was supposed to be about me, and somehow Maya had made it about her. When I got home the next day, Ryan asked how it went. I lied and said it was great, but I was starting to dread my own wedding. The thing I'd been excited about for months now felt like walking through a minefield, waiting for the next thing Maya would ruin. Then the bridesmaids started fighting. Little comments, tension, people suddenly not responding in the group chat. I couldn't figure out what was happening until one of them, Jessica, called me crying. She said she'd heard I was upset with her for gaining weight and not fitting into her dress anymore. I was stunned. "What? Who told you that?" She hesitated. "Maya mentioned it. She said you were stressed about photos and worried Jessica would look out of place." I never said that. I didn't even think that. I told Jessica that, and she believed me, but the damage was done. She felt self-conscious now. I started asking around. Turned out Maya had been whispering to all the bridesmaids, telling one I was mad she missed the bridal shower, telling another I thought she was being too controlling with opinions, creating drama out of nothing, making me look like a bridezilla while playing the concerned friend trying to manage me. Two of my bridesmaids compared notes and realized Maya had told them opposite stories. That's when they came to me. We sat down, went through messages, pieced it together. Maya had been systematically creating conflict. The goal was obvious: make people drop out, make me stressed, make the wedding fall apart. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I just kept collecting evidence. 3 weeks before the wedding, I asked Maya to pick up my dress from Final Alterations. It was a simple favor, one I regretted immediately. When she brought it to my apartment, I tried it on. It was too tight, not a little snug, too tight to zip. I stared at myself in the mirror, confused. The alterations had been perfect at my last fitting. Maya stood behind me, frowning. "Did you gain weight? I thought it fit last week."
I called the seamstress. She sounded confused when I described the problem, then asked me to send a photo of the tag inside. When I did, she went quiet. Then she said, "Those aren't the measurements you gave me. Someone called 2 days ago and said you needed it taken in more. They gave me new numbers." I asked who called. She checked her notes. "Your maid of honor, Maya." I hung up. Turned to Maya. She was scrolling on her phone, not even looking guilty. "Maya," I said quietly, "did you call the seamstress and change my measurements?" She looked up, surprised. "What? No, why would I do that?" But her eyes didn't match her words. I told her the seamstress had notes. She backtracked immediately. "Oh, wait, I think I did call. You mentioned it being loose, so I thought I was helping. I must have gotten the numbers wrong. I'm so sorry, Serena. I'll pay for the rush alterations." She didn't get the numbers wrong. The measurements she gave were 4 inches smaller than my actual size. That's not a mistake. That's sabotage. I paid for the rush alterations myself, but I added the seamstress's notes to my folder. The rehearsal dinner was 2 days before the wedding. Maya showed up 45 minutes late. No apology, no real excuse. Just a breezy, "Sorry, lost track of time." The rehearsal coordinator had to rearrange the entire schedule. During dinner, Maya got drunk again, made a toast that felt like a roast. "I never thought Serena would be the first one of us to get married, but here we are. I guess love finds you when you least expect it, or when you're desperate enough." People laughed uncomfortably. Ryan squeezed my hand under the table. I smiled and thanked her, but inside, I was done. Completely done. That night, I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2 a.m. and opened my laptop. I went through my email looking for anything I might have missed. And that's when I saw it, an email I didn't recognize in my trash folder. Subject line, "Honeymoon cancellation request." I opened it. It was sent from my email address to the resort in Greece where Ryan and I were supposed to spend our honeymoon. The message said I needed to cancel due to a family emergency and requested a full refund. I checked the sent folder. It wasn't there. Someone had deleted it after sending. I checked the timestamp. It was sent 3 days earlier, during the hour Maya had been at my apartment helping me with seating charts. She'd used my laptop. I'd left the room to take a call. She must have opened my email then. The resort had called me to confirm the cancellation. I thought it was a scam and ignored it. If I hadn't checked my trash folder, we wouldn't have had a honeymoon. I sat there in the dark, staring at the screen, and something in me went very cold. This wasn't jealousy. This wasn't sabotage. This was cruelty, deliberate, calculated cruelty from someone who was supposed to love me. I forwarded the email to myself, took screenshots, added it to the folder.
The next morning, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "You should know." I almost deleted it, thinking it was spam, but something made me open it. The message was short. "Your fiancé was seen with another woman last night at the bar in the Langham Hotel. Thought you deserved to know before you make a mistake." Attached was a grainy photo of someone who looked vaguely like Ryan standing next to a blonde woman. My heart stopped. I stared at the photo, zooming in. Then I called Ryan. "Where were you last night?" He sounded confused. "Work dinner. Why?" I asked him to prove it. He sent me the receipt from the restaurant, photos from his coworker's Instagram. He'd been at a steakhouse in Midtown with 8 colleagues until 11 p.m., nowhere near the Langham. I looked at the photo again. It wasn't even Ryan. It was blurry, deliberately unclear, just enough to create doubt. I checked the email metadata. It had been sent from a VPN, but the phrasing, the tone, it all sounded like Maya. The way she wrote, the words she used. She was trying to get me to call off the wedding. 3 days before, after everything else had failed, she wanted me to break up with Ryan and cancel the whole thing. I didn't respond to the email. I just added it to the folder. Then I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront Maya privately. I wasn't going to give her a chance to cry and apologize and make excuses.
I was going to let her stand up at my wedding in front of everyone and expose her. The wedding day arrived. Maya showed up early, playing the perfect maid of honor. She helped me into my dress, fixed my hair, took photos. She acted like nothing had happened, like she hadn't spent 6 months trying to destroy the happiest day of my life. I smiled and thanked her and let her think she'd gotten away with it. The ceremony was perfect. Ryan cried when I walked down the aisle. The vows were everything I wanted. For a few hours, I forgot about Maya entirely. This was my day, and it was beautiful. At the reception, after dinner, the speeches began. My dad went first, then Ryan's best man, then it was time for the maid of honor toast. Maya stood up, glass in hand, ready to give some performance about friendship and love. But before she could start, I stood up too. Actually, I said, taking the microphone from the DJ, I'd like to say a few things first. Maya looked confused but sat down, smiling. I turned to face the room. 150 people staring at me, waiting. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. This day has been more perfect than I ever imagined, but it almost wasn't, and I think you all deserve to know why. I could feel Ryan next to me, tense, not sure where this was going. I'd told him I was planning something, but not the details. 6 months ago, when I got engaged, I asked my best friend to be my maid of honor. I trusted her with everything. The planning, the vendors, the details. I thought I was lucky to have someone who cared so much. I paused, looking directly at Maya. Her smile was frozen now. But over the past few months, some strange things kept happening. Vendors getting wrong information, save the dates not being sent, dresses being altered incorrectly, my bridesmaids suddenly fighting with each other. People were starting to shift in their seats, whispers starting. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the screen behind me, the one we'd been using for our photo slideshow. The screen lit up. A text message thread between Maya and the photographer. Her exact words: Serena wants dark, moody photos, very edgy. She's going for an unconventional vibe. I let people read it. Then I switched to the next screenshot. The florist email where Maya specifically requested lilies, with a note saying Serena changed her mind about the peonies. Maya stood up. Serena, what are you doing? Her voice was shaking. I kept going. Then there were the save the dates that never got sent, 23 of them, all to people from my college friend group. I showed the spreadsheet, highlighted with the missing addresses. And the bridesmaids drama. Let me show you what my maid of honor was telling people behind my back. I showed the messages. Maya telling Jessica I thought she was too fat. Maya telling another bridesmaid I was angry with her. Maya creating lies and watching us all fall apart. People in the crowd were staring at Maya now. She was trying to leave, but her boyfriend had her by the arm, confused and angry. And then, I said, my voice steady, 3 days before my wedding, someone tried to cancel my honeymoon using my email, and someone sent me an anonymous message with a fake photo trying to convince me my fiancé was cheating. I showed those too. Every piece of evidence I'd collected. 6 months of sabotage, all displayed on the screen for everyone to see. Maya, I said, looking right at her, you were supposed to be my best friend. You were supposed to stand beside me. Instead, you spent half a year trying to ruin the happiest time of my life because you couldn't stand to see me happy when you were still single. The room was dead silent. Maya's face was red, tears streaming down her cheeks. But they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of humiliation, of being caught. Her boyfriend let go of her arm and stepped away. Other people were pulling out their phones, whispering, recording. I kept you as my maid of honor because I wanted you here. I wanted you to stand in that dress in front of all these people and watch me marry the love of my life despite everything you did to stop it." I handed the microphone back to the DJ, sat down next to Ryan, who was staring at me with something between shock and pride. Maya grabbed her purse and ran, literally ran out of the reception hall, her boyfriend chasing after her. A few people followed. Most stayed, too stunned to move. My sister started clapping, then Ryan's brother, then the whole room erupted, not in celebration of me exposing Maya, but in support. People came up to me afterwards, hugging me, apologizing for not seeing it sooner. My college friends who hadn't gotten save the dates finally understood why. The rest of the night was perfect. We danced, we ate cake, we celebrated, and Maya's empty seat at the head table was the best decoration in the room. The next day, on our flight to Greece, I checked Instagram. Maya had deleted all her photos from my wedding. Her boyfriend had posted a vague story about learning who people really are. 3 of my bridesmaids had unfollowed her. By the time we landed in Santorini, she deactivated all her social media. I heard through mutual friends that she'd told people I humiliated her, that I was cruel, that I should have talked to her privately, but no one believed her. Too many people had been there. Too many people had seen the proof. 2 weeks into the honeymoon, she texted me, just one line: "I'm sorry. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was jealous and I handled it terribly. Can we talk?" I read it on the balcony of our hotel room, watching the sunset over the Aegean Sea. Ryan asked if I was going to respond. I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted to forgive her, to go back to how things used to be. But the truth was, things were never really good. I'd just been too loyal to see it. I deleted the message, blocked her number, moved on. A month after the wedding, I ran into Maya's ex-boyfriend at a coffee shop. He looked uncomfortable when he saw me, but he came over anyway. He apologized for everything Maya did. Then he told me something I hadn't known. Apparently, the night of my engagement, Maya had come home and cried for hours. She'd told him she was happy for me, but he could tell she wasn't. He said she became obsessed with my wedding, talked about it constantly, compared herself to me, looked at my Instagram dozens of times a day.
He said he'd tried to get her to talk to someone, to deal with whatever she was feeling, but she insisted she was fine, that she was just being a good friend. He broke up with her 2 days after the wedding, said he couldn't be with someone capable of that kind of cruelty. I thanked him for telling me. It didn't change anything, but it confirmed what I already knew. Maya didn't sabotage my wedding because of one moment of jealousy. She did it because she'd spent 8 years resenting me, and my engagement was the breaking point. People have asked me if I regret exposing her publicly, if I should have handled it differently. The truth is, I don't know. Part of me wonders if a private conversation would have been kinder, but the other part of me, the part that spent 6 months doubting myself, fixing her mistakes, wondering if I was going crazy, that part has no regrets. She didn't just try to ruin my wedding. She tried to make me think I was the problem. She gaslit me, lied to my face, manipulated everyone around me, and smiled the whole time. If I'd confronted her privately, she would have cried and apologized and made me feel guilty for doubting her, and I would have forgiven her, because that's what I always did. But this time, I chose myself. I chose my peace. I chose to stop protecting someone who had spent months trying to destroy me. My wedding wasn't ruined. It was perfect, not because everything went smoothly, but because I took back control. I stopped letting Maya's jealousy define my happiness. I stopped shrinking myself to make her comfortable. And when she stood in that reception hall, watching the evidence of her betrayal flash across the screen, she finally felt a fraction of the humiliation she'd tried to make me feel for 6 months. I don't talk to Maya anymore. I don't check her social media. I don't ask mutual friends about her.
She's just gone from my life, the way she should have been the moment I realized what she was doing. Sometimes people you love turn out to be people who can't love you back, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is walk away. My marriage is strong, my friendships are real, my life is full, and Maya is just a story I tell sometimes about the maid of honor who tried to ruin my wedding and ended up ruining herself instead. The best revenge isn't always confrontation. Sometimes it's just living well, loving fully, and refusing to let bitter people steal your joy. And if that revenge happens to include a slideshow at your wedding reception, well, that's just a bonus.